Well, hello and welcome to the Ramon Foster Show, starring the one and only Ramon Foster. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. And Moan, Happy New Year, man.
Same to you, man. Put a little bow on that right there. We survived 2021, and we're here. Thank God.
You know what? We survived 2020, and 2020 was supposed to be the year that we wouldn't mess up. But that's the kind of year that it was. It only felt like it went downhill. But this is it, Moan. We're over the hump.
I would hope so, man. Whatever it is, I'm hoping we'll battle tested, and you know what? Everybody love everybody. That's all we need, man. ELE. In the words of Jackie Moon, everybody love everybody.
We are definitely tested, if not battle tested. We have been tested and tested and tested. Yes. Moan, this is a special week around here. It's a special week for everybody in Steelers Nation, in particular, those of you who've lived it, who've been part of it. Ben Roethlisberger made clear to everybody today that this is it. This is it. He's got one more home game coming, and the first thing I want to ask is if you're going to be able to make it up, because I known for a while that he wanted you to make it.
He has, man. I checked on him when he had COVID, and we were conversating back and forth, and he was like, "Hey, I just need one promise that you'll make it to my my last game." I was like,
"What last game?"
The Monday night game, the last home game, and he was just like, "Yeah." So he's kind of put that out there for, I guess, some close guys. It was a small leak. It kind of dead it off a little bit a little while back, maybe about 2-3 weeks ago. And he did kind of put that out there to some of his closest friends. And will I be there? No, I'm actually in a closet quarantining right now. My wife actually has had to tell me, you need to stay in one room so you're not spreading all of this around. So I'm in our bedroom doing our show, and
you're doing okay. Right, you're doing
I'm
okay.
Fine, man. I'm vaxxed, and I got the booster too. As we're not going to go deep into that, but hey, I tell you what, my symptoms have been minimum compared to what others have dealt with. So your body, your choice, but this is actually preventing me because I want to be safe towards you guys as far as coming on the plane and stuff like that.
All that other stuff, and that's actually, that's the right way to go about everything in terms of being honest and making. Look, you don't have to tell anybody.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
No,
but that's not exactly doing the right thing.
I'm watching that game, man. That's gonna be different. It's now I don't know if that means last game in Pittsburgh or is that the last one he's gonna bow out. But either way, for the city of Pittsburgh, that's gonna be different, DK.
Different is one way to put it. Somebody was asking me earlier today, Moan, like, when was the last time the Steelers had a situation like this? And somebody brought up Troy, and I said, because none of that was known until after the season.
Yeah.
Like Troy was struggling a little bit at times in his final season, but it's not like we thought, oh yeah, he's done, and there was some kind of send-off or a farewell. Never happened.
No, it didn't, and I'll be honest with you guys too. And Ben trying to get Pounce back. This past season was one of the things that he said about why he wanted to come back. Of course, he wanted to win and compete and everything else, but one of the things he said was, "Man, I want to go out with the crowd." Last year in 2020, no crowd until late, selective road games maybe. But the idea of empty stadium crickets, and I always ask those guys last year, how was it? How was it playing in front of nobody? It's like it was the most weird thing ever. You could hear the other sideline. The adrenaline pump of coming out of the tunnel wasn't the same. A big play was celebrated only by the voices that you could hear and not by the roar of the crowd. And you guys have heard me say this time and time again, and Seven as much as anybody. Heck, he's probably helped raise some Steeler fans. No, he has raised some Steeler fans, man, as long as he's been in Pittsburgh. But the guy's a warrior. He wants to go out with the crowd. It doesn't matter if he goes out on his shield or with his sword in his hand 2 feet. He's going to go out with the crowd, man. And you got to love the story and how it's written itself out from a young Ben to now the mature guy and you saw all phases of that career in one place, that's rare.
Did you know? You said rare. I'm going to top that. Did you know that by Ben being an 18-year NFL quarterback with the same team, that's the longest tenure of any quarterback with one team ever? I did not know that until today.
I would have. Well, if you think about it, yes, Steve Young was somewhere else.
Keep going.
Brady
Joe Montana ended up in
Joe
Kansas
Montana.
City. You can Johnny Unitas switch teams. You can keep going right down the line.
Marino, did he ever switch, or he didn't get that many in Miami?
He didn't. Yeah.
Okay.
No, he didn't switch teams though. No.
But he didn't get that many in Miami.
No.
18 in okay. Yeah, because a quarterback career was really what, 13 to 14 years sometimes in the older generation.
It's all kind of changing, you know. I mean, once
they used to get beat up.
Well, they also used to get counted out earlier than now. When you see, when you see Peyton Manning with a noodle arm beating a certain team out in Denver on his way to a Super Bowl, you think, wow, sometimes it just takes brains to get it done, you know?
Yeah.
But Ben's longevity and what he's achieved in that regard, is that, Moan, his claim to fame? What is it? Because whenever you look, it's stupid to debate like, is he a Hall of Fame? Of course he is, first ballot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's not interesting. What is interesting is how a guy gets remembered. What's his stamp? What's his claim to fame for you?
Well, the 2 Super Bowls is too obvious. For me, it's that warrior mentality. But if I was to put it in one word, it's big. Big. You say Big Ben in America, you think football. It's Big Ben. He played that way. You hit him, you needed 2 people to take him down. If he was down, he was coming back into the game. I've seen it happen in Oakland. I've seen it happen in Cincinnati. I've seen it happen in Cleveland. I've seen it happen in Baltimore. I've seen it happen in Atlanta. I've seen it happen in Tennessee. The threat of Big Ben. So when I say big, that's what it is that word right there. Just Ben in itself is himself. Like when you say Big Ben here, you think Steelers, you think black and gold, you think Ben Roethlisberger. That would be the one word I would have to describe him. Big.
That's interesting because if you think about it, those images, and there's a lot of these video montages that are coming out now of guys not just hitting him and bouncing off, but sliding off.
Yeah.
That was the stuff that whenever you talk to Terrell Suggs and those guys from the Ravens, what would they talk about? They would talk about how they would slide off of him.
Yeah.
But I also think of his size as it relates to his toughness.
Yeah.
Because I mentioned Suggs.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, Ben versus Suggs was about as good as it got for AFC North football. But also, how many quarterbacks at their Hall of Fame induction are going to have a defensive play that gets the loudest roar from the crowd?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No doubt, man. It's he's painted a great career for a city that's the way Pittsburgh is. That's the way the fan base is here in Tennessee. That's the way the fan base is in San Diego. You take a lot of crap from a lot of fan bases, but the respect that you get from them because they know that you have had one of the most winning programs in all of the NFL. And for the last 18 years, there's been one steady Eddie amongst them all, and that's been 7. So to have those images of Ben shedding people off of him, him walking back onto the stadium where fans are booing, and then he comes in and win the game. Like that idea of what my expectation of a quarterback, when I tell people like it's different for me because I had a winning quarterback. We won a whole lot of games. Like, and truth be told, we walked in the stadiums kind of cocky. You know why? Because we had Big Ben. Like my idea of a franchise quarterback is he's supposed to win half the games himself. 8 of the 16
love that.
or 9 of the 17 now, and drag everybody else along with him. Like, yeah, like that was the mindset. It didn't matter if we were underdogs unless we were missing like 3-4 players. And even still, we were competing because 7 was behind. And he could make it happen. And it was unconventional. And he would shed guys off from him. He would run outside the pocket. Even in his older years, he still make that chance of running down and get a first down. We saw that in the Minnesota game. We've seen that numerous times where, like I said, you throw the word big into it, that's when you get Big Ben. And I'm glad to have been a part of it. And I judge all quarterbacks accordingly to what he did and what the expectations was walking into that stadium. There was nothing like it.
So good. When we come back here on the Ramon Foster Show, Ramon's going to share with us some inside the huddle stuff about his experiences with Ben Roethlisberger. Welcome back to the Ramon Foster Show. It's a special all Ben Roethlisberger edition. Of course, number 73 here on the show with me spent a lot of time in that huddle with number 7. And Ramon, you know, it was about a year ago that Ben had one of his 51 fourth quarter comebacks. 51.
That's a lot. I didn't realize that.
It should have been 52 if Minneapolis had played out the way it should have. Not to mention the game against the Chargers. And okay, enough of that. All right.
Yeah, we're good.
This season is what it is. And after one of these comebacks, someone asked Mike Tomlin. It wasn't me. Someone asked Mike Tomlin, like, basically, you know, how good did you feel, you know, about your ability to win that game in that situation? And his response was, we had 7. That was the end. Like, he left the there was no breath left in the room. Like, it was just, we're waiting for the rest of the answer. And that was it. That was it.
DK, that's how it rolls. Like, legitimate, like, I know we've talked about this before, but I said, like, you get cocky the fact that you knew you had him. Flaws and all, you might want to say he's not like Brady in this aspect, or he's not like Mahomes in this aspect, or Eli did this and Peyton did this.
They aren't like him in some aspects.
They're not like him. Peyton couldn't do what Ben did as far as the hits, as far as the extending plays, which is why I still go back to he gave himself up in Denver, because Peyton doesn't take hits like that, even though he's evolved too.
Never let that go. Never let that one go, Moan.
I never will. I won't. But being in that huddle when you needed to get a win on the road, and he's willing and dealing, man. Like the talks that he give to you. He come to the huddle and he'd be like, and he wouldn't look at you. It would be one of those, all right, guys. He'd be fixing his gloves or his elbow or something. He'd be, all right, guys, we need this one, and I'm a little banged up. If you give me a little time, I got us. And it would be like that. And that's all that need to be said. And the O-line would just dap me up. I dap Al up, or Gil, or Beecham, whoever's on the side of me. And it brought everything together. Like, he wouldn't say much, and he just said, all right, guys, just give me a little time. I'm a little banged up right here, but we'll make it out of this. So it was something just like that. And it wasn't a lot. And you knew he was hurting. You knew that you needed this drive, because we were always in a situation where we'd even say to ourselves, why do we got to live like rock stars? We can't just go win it. Well, we got a lead singer who's killing the guitar and killing the mic, and his name is Ben, okay? We got to make sure that he finished the show, and everybody would step up a notch and keep going. And those were the things that he brought to the table, as far as what I'm saying. Like, most quarterbacks will bow out in those situations, or they would, you know what I'm saying, they will always prep the backup. The thing about Ben and guys that play behind him at quarterback is 7 ain't going to really miss. I mean, let's go back to Landry Jones. I think that had his first start against the Browns. Landry steps on Gill's friggin' ankle and rolls his ankle.
He did.
And Ben comes in with the most passing yards for a backup quarterback in the game, which he wasn't supposed to play. But then that's the other part of Ben, the competitive side, where it was like, okay, well, I wasn't supposed to play the game, so let's go dice these guys apart. You know, like, that was it. If I got his nose broken, okay? Haloti Ngata, that play is out there in my young career. Ngata just went through me, and he hit Ben. He hit him and actually went underneath his helmet too. But it was
Haloti Ngata went through everybody in that game.
Yes,
Let's
he
be
did.
really clear about that. He was a man eater.
Yes, he was. It may have been their Super Bowl year too, by the way.
It was.
But Ben never brought it up. I checked on him, like, what can I do, man? I'm sorry. And it wasn't just me. If somebody got him hit, like, only time Ben really got ticked off about something is when the team was just bad. Individually, everybody's gonna mess up. But like it wasn't a strike him down and me versus everybody else type of mentality with him. He took a lot, man, but he never said much about his pains, what he was going through. If he needed days, heck, everybody just kind of understood it, man. Ben needed his time to get right. It wasn't he's having a vet day. I know that conversation always seems to come up when talking about Ben.
Yeah.
He needs to practice more, but when you see what he's gone through and the hits and what it takes to actually continue on and what's his value to having those off days, man, it was very much necessary, and never complained about it. Not much at all.
Let's go back to Cincinnati because we don't do that often enough. And what's beautiful about that game? You don't even have to say which game we're talking about.
No.
Ben was actually hit by a beer can. Bottle, I should say. One of those plastic bottles, whatever. But I bet they don't feel all that great when they make it down from a significant elevation. And that was as he was carded in the first half. And the rest of the game unfolds the way it does, all that insanity and everything else. And then the fumble, the Cincinnati fumble happens. Correct me if I'm wrong, forced by Ryan Shazier?
Yeah, it was. Ripped it. No, He hit him. Yeah, dropped it. Hit him and he dropped it.
He hit him hard. Now I'm remembering it.
Okay. He did, yeah. You remember now, yeah.
And the offense takes the field. And I remember thinking, this almost felt anticlimactic.
Yeah.
There's no way you're losing this now.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, man, like the group that we had, especially, was the 15, 16, 17, 14, 15, 16, 17, was just a young, talented, ambitious group led by a guy that had already been there. And that was, I think, the bonus for all of us, is we had a guy, and I had played in it, didn't win it, but we had guys sprinkled in that had enough to where any situation was a good situation to get out of. And that Cincinnati situation right there, it was never over until the actual clocks hit zero. And that was the whole mind frame. And truth be told, that defense was just starting to climb, when Shazier got hurt. Like, it was just starting. If we could have kept those two squads together as much as we could, you'd be on to something. And like I said, the guy leading that was Ben. And I'll say this too. I know the other guys ended up getting more praise. AB, Le'Veon, let's even go Martavis in that group. Just a bunch of other stars emerged from that. But at the end of the day, everybody to a man really understood what Seven is the one that kind of gets this thing going. Like, you can have your stars, but the quarterback, he was the one that kept it moving.
Now, the other game that I wanted to bring up here, and if you could take us into the huddle in this one as well, it's a game that not nearly as many people talk about, in part because it ended up in a loss. That game in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Where Ben and AB, and of course all of you on offense, just destroyed that team and their defense. And their defense was hailed by everybody. And unless you've been to the Superdome, you can't appreciate what a hostile atmosphere is. And that place and its ridiculous volume, and it's not a mix of Steelers fans and Saints fans. It is Saints. It's all Saints in that place.
Yes.
And to watch, I just remember being so blown away by, here's Ben going against another Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah.
In this environment. And I believe AB had like 150 catches that day. Or something in that range.
I think it's legitimately like 25, like 21 or something like that. It was crazy.
The precision with which Ben threw and the confidence, if you can, if is there anything that you can remember about that day, like what do you see in his eyes when he's like that? Because it felt like we saw some of that in the second half of Minneapolis just a couple of weeks ago. You know,
I'm gonna be real. That game right there, because of that defense, because of that defensive line, was a battle. DK, like it was watching. It was almost like you could hear heavyweight punch, like boxers punch. You know, like the way he was throwing the ball, the way we were running the ball, the way we were protecting the heck, the way they were trying to get after Seven. All of that was a part of that game, man. And just watching him just be on the same page with AB. And honestly, kind of force feeding them and finding them. We be in a third and long situation, and he find a way to get to him. And we are up front, man, just like, golly, let's get this ball out. You know what I'm saying? But the efficiency in which they were working, you couldn't complain about it. It was it legitimately was like a heavyweight fight in which both boxers were just brawlers. And Ben was a guy, man, that kind of constructed that offense to where it worked better when we were going to the line of scrimmage, and he was telling us, hey, 52 protection, 76 protection, whatever he was giving us, and we would just go. And when he's rolling like that, I used to tell everybody, and I still say it now, even tweet it out on game days now, let Ben work. Because when he's on and he's doing what he knows and he likes to do, you got the best version of him. That's not saying that he's not coachable, but it's when you get in those type of games, let him go. Because, again, playing big and the competitive spirit always finds his way out with him. And watching him and Drew Brees go at it and the way that game ended.
I'll never forget it.
The way it ended.
Yeah, the way it ended.
You know, and then I think they tried to do the review play after that with Joe and everything. You know, like that was a friggin' game.
The way it ended, the Joe Hayden pass interference.
And honestly,
yeah,
that's when it ended. You know?
Yeah, right there, exactly. When we come back, a slice of life with Ramon that's also going to focus on Ben and the friendship that they've formed. Welcome back to the Ramon Foster Show. Ramon, this is our Slice of Life segment, and we're sticking with the Ben theme today, obviously. And, you know, I've heard so much from you, not just today, but over the years, about the bond that gets formed.
Yeah.
And it's not universal. I think there's some people who think that all quarterbacks love all offensive linemen and buy them all, you know. Ben got all his guys this week gift certificates for suits, custom suits and stuff like that. Okay, great. But there's a bond that gets formed that's also real.
Yeah.
And just tell me about how you guys have become what you are, the friends that you are, the fact that it's 2 years out now, since you were there. And you're still in touch. He doesn't need to be nice to you.
No, he doesn't, man. And truth be told, it was one of those things where with the quarterback, when you're playing with him for that long too, to where you're a constant in his life. He's a constant in yours. And you've seen him train. You've seen him go through camp. You've seen him take up for you. And you've done the same thing. And I'll be honest, too, I'm a little slow to react to this new O-line too, because they are a little bit out of touch with what Ben has done. They're seeing Ben now. You know what I'm saying? As far as what he's done in his career. They respect the man and the career, but to be in those battles where he marks you down or he goes to bat for you inside the building, or you're going over to his house and your friends, or you see him as a young guy, man. For me, honestly, I was that middle of the pack young guy that had some Willie. I had some Hartwig, and then it was me and Marquise that became old guys, seeing the young guys too. So I've seen his growth, man. His wedding, kids come through. He's seen my kids. He knew when I got married. He knew all of those things. So you become a family. And you got something going on in your life. I never forget when my mom passed. One of the most sincere conversations was from Ben. You know what I'm saying? Like, that brings you closer to him, too. It shows you their human side, to where all of the BS that surrounds the game or surround him, I got to see the real person of him. You know what I'm saying? To where his faith grew even more. The love for his wife and the love for his kids, how he treat his kids. Like, it's a bond, it's a friendship, and to be around somebody 11 years, heck, marriages don't even last that long, you know, DK, for a lot of people. Heck, it's so many moments that you realize, like, the game, the sport really creates a family, creates a bond to where you don't ever let go of it.
I hate to keep referencing Cincinnati, but I'm also reminded of, the time that Ben slid. And who was it from the Bengals? Was it Pac-Man? Somebody came in.
No, who was it? Was it?
It wasn't
Wallace?
Vontez.
No, it wasn't Gilberry or somebody.
Somebody that was off the beaten path. And then the next thing you see is 66 come flying down the field. Who?
Dre Kirkpatrick.
It was Dre Kirkpatrick. And you see 66 come flying down the field and murder someone right there on the field. And people ask, like, today, like, why doesn't this offensive line behave the same way? They've had issues with not picking him up, whatever it is. You're right. They should. But you got to understand that when David DeCastro is taking that action, or when you flipped out on a couple of people, you had a couple of whoppers of your own along the way. And when Marquise comes in and tries to, I don't even know what word you would use to describe what he was attempting to do to Myles Garrett, but that's a different story. Yeah. That was in Mason's defense.
That was Mason's defense.
But there's something. There's more to it, and it doesn't happen overnight. And it is personal. It is personal.
It is. And you know what? We built a special bond with the five of us, whether it was Al or whether it was Gil or whether it was Beach, of the starters, to where we became a family, and Seven was an extension of our family. He was in our family. Wasn't no extension. He was in our family. So we walked into games, the understanding of we protect him no matter what. He might get hit. We might give up a sack, but it ain't going to be nothing crazy, or you're not going to do anything wild around him either. So having that understanding from, honestly, Willie and the guys, Willie Colon and the guys beforehand, because it was a thing. We get fined for that type of stuff. Don't let Seven take more of a beating than he should take one. Okay? That was the understanding. If you see somebody, go get somebody. Like, and there's been times where you'd be like, all right, Mon, we need to chill out. But I don't want to be the guy giving up Seven like he's a sacrificial lamb. You know what I'm saying? And those young guys have to learn that with whoever's going to be their new quarterback. Because truth be told, we had to be taught that one or two times too. But it never happened again. This younger group they're just young, and the season's been weird for them again. And especially offensively, they're trying to find what's working for them. And it's the 16th game and still don't know. So it's a lot that's going on right now with those dudes. But the sacrifice that you made or the consequences that came as far as getting a fine after defending Ben, it was always worth it in the end.
You just said you were referring to this offensive line, whoever their new quarterback is. There's no way you don't cringe as you even think about that. Like somebody else taking the field, new quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Because even when Ben wasn't around, he was still the quarterback.
He was always.
Yeah, like in 2019, he was still the quarterback. He just happened to be hurt.
You know what's wild about it, too, as we do this slice of life, is I've been talking to my wife and my brothers and my kids and just telling them, look, y'all, Steeler Nation might have a rough couple of years until we figure out this quarterback situation. Like, that's the reality of it. Now, I'm not saying they're going to drop flat because we always find a way to win. No matter what stadium we walk into, always find a way to win. But the reality is, fan base, you're cocky. DK, I'm cocky about it. You got a certain expectation of what's the Steeler game is supposed to look like, and it's always looked the same for the most part with Seven being out there. Here's a team right now that's friggin' 7-7-1,
and it's a disaster.
Come on,
it's
now,
a catastrophe. It's end times. It's great. One of the great things on Twitter is whenever you see Steelers fans talking like this about 7-7-1, and still by the way in mathematical contention, is you'll hear from like someone who says, dude, I'm in New York. Have you ever considered being a Jets fan? And you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Or
So
Bears or Jaguars or any of those teams, you know?
on my show here, we asked the question: what would you rather be? 3 hot years in the Super Bowl and then go into football purgatory for 20 years, or would you rather have 20 years of being in contention? And almost to a person, you said, "Man, give me 20 years of being in the hunt," and that's what Ben has done. And you strike on two. He struck on 3 of them, and 5 AFC Championship games. I mean, there's so many guys that didn't get rings because of Jordan, but there's a lot of other guys that didn't get rings because of Brady too. Like, let's be real behind it.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things when people start comparing different eras. Okay, I mean, the one thing you can't say is that in the Steelers of the 70s didn't have to deal with a Tom Brady. There were other great quarterbacks out there, Ken Stabler and so forth, but Roger Staubach. But those Steelers found a way to beat those guys. Brady has done something that no one has ever done in the history of team sports, let alone football.
No.
Moan, just last thing for this week. I'm sure you've had a chance to be in touch, with your guys, with your offensive linemen and everything. And what's their mindset going into this week?
I actually FaceTimed Al yesterday.
Did you really?
I did. We talked for a while.
Al's not going to make it Monday.
He's not going to make it, man. But
Al's got business. I'll see him the following week.
Yeah, the following week. And the conversation he and I had, just one of the guys, okay, was, man, Mon, what we had in Pittsburgh was special. He was like, and he's speaking about everything it was, as far as they knew walking into the stadium they had to deal with us as offensive line, but they also had to deal with 7 too. And then all the many weapons that we had. And I'll just speak only offensive because this is Ben's week, okay?
Sure.
But he was just saying, dude, from Calais to just all the guys that are on the Ravens team, Justin Houston, to other players that he's ran across in the offseason, they have said, dude, I hated seeing y'all. And that's all of us included in what it was. And I don't want to put a bow on this era, but DK, we pretty much are, you know what I'm saying? Because it's just a real moment. And I'm be honest, I'm privileged more than anything to be a part of this ride, whether we got a ring or not, because to spend 11 years as an undrafted player in one spot, I got buddies of mine that tell me time and time again, you don't know how lucky you are. And now we're looking at, and they say that for multiple reasons. They say you guys are always contenders. You guys have been back there, and you at least got an opportunity to play for a Super Bowl. It's like, y'all got something that was special.
Every game mattered. That's
the
one thing about, if I had to define your era more than anything else, like from a team perspective, every game mattered.
It did.
Even after the London fiasco, you came back home 0-4. Just lost to a winless team on the wrong side of the planet. And even the rest of that season, every single game mattered.
I remember my rookie year. I think we were last game of the season. We were teetering on trying to make in the playoffs. And I think we found out we weren't going to make the playoffs on the plane back to Pittsburgh because I think somebody missed a field goal or something crazy like that. But you're right. From the day I walked in that door, after they won that Super Bowl, we didn't make it in 2009. The next year it mattered even more. You know what I'm saying? The consequences of going 0-4 in London. That was the kickstart of the new era of what, with the Le'Veon and everybody else, Le'Veon and just everybody else. And that lesson from that game was, we'll never start 0-4 again in the preseason. From here on out, every game means something. I don't care if it's a rep in camp. I don't care if it's preseason. Never go 0-4 because technically we went 0-8 because we didn't win any preseaon games either that year.
God, I forgot about that.
We went 2 months without winning a game, and that right there springboarded 2015. It was steps in that era that made, like you said, to your point, it made every game matter, and it was easier to buy into that again because we walked in with Ben. I hate to keep saying that, but being that I know this is his last, that right there probably meant more than anything. It's like, yeah, we got y'all because we got 7.
I can't think of a better way to end this particular episode. Moan, I wish you were coming up for all kinds of reasons. I also hope, obviously, that you continue feeling better and everything else here.
Yeah.
And let's do this again next week when we talk about the big send-off that Ben has Monday night against the Browns. That would be one hell of a scene in this city.
Stream it for me, DK.
I will.